Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanam Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana, and section number is 13. The topic is the same old topic. How to attain enlightenment. Without the self, the mind is dead. The light of the self reflecting in the mind renders the latter active and vibrant. That means makes the mind vibrant. The mind thus becomes like a hissing snake, ever ready to project its venom in the form of misery in the world. Let me explain now this point. Simple point, but the deepest understanding is very simple. But in the process of understanding is very difficult. Simple illustration. You need to go to sleep. It's a simple matter. But you study the books relating to all the factors that keep you awake, it will take you volumes of study. And you don't have to study. You go through a lot of stress. Watch over your couch or your bed. Count any mosquitoes around. I'm joking. But the idea is you go through all that. But the actual sleep, you don't even know how it comes. It is just a very simple process. Now, to go into deeper understanding, self is like the sun. Think of you are in your room and you have a big wall mirror. Through your window, a little ray comes of the sun, and the sun reflects in that mirror. Now that reflection, the reflected ray, has created its own illumination in your house. One illumination goes towards the kitty cat. Another illumination goes towards the pictures you have kept in your room. Another goes into something else. That reflected sun in your room has given reality to so many things of your room. That reflected sun doesn't know what the other reflected suns are doing. So, every individual and his problems, you know. Others can't exactly know your problems. But going to another level, all these illuminations created by the reflected sun from room to room, all these are illusions. The reality is the sun alone. So when you move away from all the illuminations in your room and start thinking of what is this source that is giving reality to all this, answer: the sun reflecting in your mirror. That mirror is your mind. According to your mind, you will have the reflections and you have your reality. But unmind your mind to understand the reality. Reality behind the reflected sun is the sun, not dependent upon these mirrors, not dependent upon all the illumination, reflections, all the things illumined by reflected suns. Countless, and those reflected suns have created countless world systems. All the illusion of time, space, causation. Every reflected sun has created its own. So every jiva has a tremendous dimension. But the reality is, every jiva is Brahman, the Absolute. What makes the difference? The mirror, the mind. So, how to unmind the mind? Move away from all these projections. Switch your attention. Who am I? And that subtle point that is hammered on the mind again and again. All these reflected, all that is created by the reflected sun becomes a source of misery, because that becomes the world process. Because you are looking for your stability, your happiness, your immortality in the realm of reflections. No matter how much you do, it will never be the reality. History is the proof. Millions of souls have come and gone. Which one is there staying immortal in the world? No one has secured immortality. But then, if that is your objective, that's all that you know, then you are gripped by a world that is envenomed, Vishairas. And this venom will kill you not once, but serial killer. All these are not made up stories. They are simple fact. You have come through so many bodies. You didn't come suddenly in this very world just for the first time. Think of any time before. You were never non-existent. So if you have time to think of it, how many things have gone on? And this predicament of coming back again and again, how long it will continue, that also you have to allow your mind to grasp. And if that is what has to happen, your life is being lived without purpose. And scriptures are meant to direct your attention to the purpose of life, attaining liberation. Of course, 4 purposes further defined: dharma, ethical value; artha, material value; kama, vital, which means social value, family value; and moksha, liberation, which is the real goal of life. All these must come together. The real goal is moksha, liberation. Keeping that goal in view, others are the ducks to be put together. They have to be kept in a row. Artha is the beginning duck. Kama is the next one. Artha, dharma is the first one, the basic. Dharma, artha, kama. All have to come in order, in the same sequence. But when an aspirant asserts within himself, I am pure consciousness, I am not the mind, he is led to supreme mastery over the mind. Put one step further, he led to let the mind dissolve, vanish. Spiritual movement demands a firm foundation in the process of understanding. The project is to understand who am I. But in order to have that faith in your heart and pure feeling, if you have developed by good deeds, if they match up, go together, now your mind, without consulting the intellect, of course intellect is always there, intellect is going to be highlighted, but some intellect is not ready, and you wait until intellect becomes rid of illusions. Intellect has to go through caterpillar stage to butterfly stage. And takes time, so you have to have patience with your intellect. So while you allow the intellect to go through that, what is needed based on your faith and increasing purity within your heart? A simple vision. I am not the body. I am Satchidananda. I am not. If I am body, and body is an inseparable part of the universe. So instead of sitting down and worrying about the body, think of, I am the body, I am the whole universe. Now, it doesn't seem to have any practical reality. It seems to be all a form of imagination. But this type of imagination is called affirmation, called nishchay karna, allowing your mind to have a clear, definite glimpse of the goal. And so therefore, this is encouraged in spiritual movement from the very beginning of your life. Beginning means even prenatal education starts. pregnant lady desiring to have a very advanced soul goes into study of scriptures, listens to, but listening is not so easy for that stage. Person may sleep, but the baby listens. So many stories are there. What you're being pointed out, that the mother tries to listen in her nervous system, but it has a kind of a mantra effect. A positive radiation goes to the baby. So, and you have the scriptural illustration of Madhalasa. She cradles the baby, but not using village songs. Even that village song, some of the songs relate to the way Hindu culture has brought it, relate to very advanced philosophy. Yoga Vasistha mentions it. But anyway, coming to simple point, Madhalasa cradled the baby saying, Shuddhosi, Buddhosi, Niranjanosi. You are pure. You are enlightened. You are taintless. The whole world is full of taints. You are enlightened. And the baby looks at the face and giggles. But it has a profound effect. It shows up as you grow. So that's a simple sample of affirmation. But now you are not doing affirmation in the baby stage. As you advance, your mind brings certain things you have heard from the scriptures, and on the basis of that, you relax your mind and create an inner voice. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. I am not limited to the body. The entire universe is being experienced through my brain. And I am untouched by the whole universe. The iPad is bringing so many things, but I put the iPad under my pillow. I'm untouched by it. The entire world system, universe, becomes one verse. Something joyous. And once realized, you can't reverse. Therefore, in the practice of jnana yoga or any stage of practice, positive affirmation is a powerful method. The moment you begin to sit for puja, look at the picture of the deity, but don't see the artistic details and the reality behind it. Affirmation. God is there looking at me. The radiation is coming from the picture. And it will depend upon your heart. The whole upasana is artistic. And you are free to use your imagination to create affirmation. And more positive affirmation, more effective is your sadhana. But if your affirmation is negative, I have to do 20 malas of japa. How long will it take? All right, I'll do it. But so many days I have done, didn't do any good. Same old thing. That's an example of a negative affirmation. The moral behind it, don't never turn to negative. Continue to insist positive. And let this positive be impressed on your mind again and again and again until your mind has fully become overpowered by a divine understanding. Brahman, who is Satchidananda, existence, consciousness and bliss, apparently allows a ripple to arise in himself. This again is allegorical way to explain. Sometimes if you are simply begin the whole teaching, the world doesn't exist. Mind goes into void, vacuum. So, as long as there is a world, you have to say it came from Brahma. As long as you are dreaming, it comes from you. But not total you, a snake of you, a little ray of you. It happens. Every dream comes. It doesn't take a total personality of yours. Just a little bubble, a little wave. And when the dream finishes, the wave has gone. So, likewise, out of Brahman, so it's like a mighty ocean, a little wave. The scripture says a little ripple comes from it, and that's what you call the universe. So that's what Brahman allows, apparently, a ripple to arise in himself. This ripple becomes interested in externalization and soon assumes the role of chitta, or the mind. With increasing ignorance and externalization, the chitta becomes unaware of chit. Now what happens? When you are watching a cinema show, you become so involved with the show and what's going on that you have no idea about where the projection is coming from. And And the most vivid point, that all the time your eyes are looking at the screen, and the light is projections are playing foxy part. So instead of being relaxed with the screen, you are wandering through the projections. And ultimately, projections and all they created, they have nothing to do with the screen. Not a single portion of the screen was involved in holding the projection, because the projections had no reality. But when you are watching the show and you become deeply engrossed with what's going on, now the question of, oh, this is illusion, that cannot be understood by your mind. Guided by the thoughts of the past and expectations for the future, mind begins to flow in the realms of illusion. In this way, mind becomes the basis for the world process. Each mind is creating its own world, just like I described, as a ray of the sun reflecting in a mirror. Now, the reflected sun is creating a world. So each reflected sun has a different world, countless worlds. And all those worlds are not realities. Now your mind, that's the product of this process of ignorance, becomes unaware of consciousness. Pure mind is called chitta, and its source is chit. Only one T enters into it. Source of all trouble, the T. This chitta holds sanchit karmas, countless impressions based upon experiences through thought, word, and deed. The way you think, that creates its impression. Words create their impression. Actions create their impression. All those impressions ultimately go into your unconscious and stay recorded. And they play their part. They become the basis of your prarabdha and your current karmas in the process. So everyone is experiencing a world of past. How past? There is no endless past. But your past is illusion to another person. And your future again will be illusion for another person. But to you it is past and future, and put present also. The present is as much illusory, it is not present at all. The serene awareness of the self, as if it were drunk with the alcoholic drinks of raga, has fallen into the pits of the sense objects. When watching this show and you are extremely troubled by certain negative, certain terrifying scene, what has really happened? The screen, as if drank alcoholic drink. And began to dance with vampires. The Sanskrit term is madand. You develop mada. You don't know your ego. But all that I know that it looks good if the ego gets more inflated. And then all your focus is how to satisfy that ego and interpret things. Things are of value if they please your ego. So that whole vision called Madanda vision, and behind it Madasur, the demon presiding over your ego-based conceit. Pride has two aspects. One is called mada, intoxicating. Another aspect is a sattvic pride. That's termed gaurava. Sattvic pride is perfectly commendable. Rather, it is absolutely necessary to develop sattvic pride. You have to feel proud that you have succeeded in controlling your anger, your hate, and your paving your movement to Godward movement. That type of strength, when you develop within yourself, and that strength shouts out, nothing is impossible for me. And that's not abhiman, not the ego speaking. This is illustrated by Angada in the Ramayana. He plants his foot. He says, if anybody can shake it, Rama will go back without fighting, leave Sita behind. That type of ego is not called egoistic. And that type of ego that moves towards affirmation, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am Brahman. So anybody saying I am Brahman, that's not highlighting the ego. It's called gaurav, it's a sattvic aspect of purified affirmation. This serene awareness must be reawakened in order for it to rediscover its divine nature. So by the practice of spiritual inquiry, dispassion, and mastery over the senses, the disease of externalization is remedied in one's consciousness. Pure consciousness is Brahman, the Absolute. mind causes externalization. Mind is a mirror. Now consciousness, which is like the sun, reflecting in the mirror and having taken a position as a reflected sun, is creating illusions. Those illusions are not the I am. That point. But in the statement, all these illusions are external, externalization. The external and internal here is used not in ordinary sense of space. External, watching a cinema show, all the show is external. The screen is internal. So therefore, to have self-realization, you need to go through listening, scriptures, reflecting. But in order that your inquiry process is effective, you must have dispassion. If you are fully satisfied with the world of illusion, if you eat, drink, and be merry is your goal, then leave the scriptures completely. But dispassion, the more you understand, detach and attach, the more you move away from illusions, greater is your coming towards the revelation of your reality. The word attach again is allegorical. You don't attach. You remove the cloud, the sun shines. Naturally, the shining sun is more desirable, more lovable than when the sun was obstructed. So the disease of externalization is remedied by all those points I have said: listening, reflection, meditation, inquiry, all that what sadhana. O Rama, the light of Atman reflecting in the thought waves of the mind projects as well as illumines the objects of the world. This world is nothing but the refracted light of the self through the mind. All that you experience is nothing but awareness. Awareness, look at the ocean. Ocean has waves. Ocean has undercurrents. If you are sitting by the ocean, your mind can be simply focused on the predicament of a particular wave, or sometimes a whole stream flowing on the ocean, then you want to see where it's coming from, where it's going. And if you come to realize there is undercurrent, you are also interested. Where does it begin? How many things it does? And how do the whales and sharks act? I'm joking, but that's. On the other hand, allow the mind to relax and look at the whole ocean. Ocean, each little wave you are looking at is nothing but the ocean. This type of development is called Brahmakara Vritti. If your vritti, your thought, your mental process focused on single little wave, it's Vishayakar. If you go after wave, countless waves. That's called Vishayakar, objects of the world. Looking at the ocean, now you are not dealing with ocean after ocean, just ocean. It's Brahmakara vritti. Both are not contradicting. What is contradicted? That no matter what object you are dealing with, your awareness recognizes all is Brahman. So every Vishaya, every sense object is sustained by the reality of Brahman. Ocean is behind every little drop, every little atom. Ghat ghat mein hai Sai Ramata. That Sai, God who is all permeating, abides in every little jar. Every individual is a jar. When an aspirant is able to negate the thought wave along with the reflection of the self in it, he realizes the truth, I am Atma, the self. Now let me explain to you. This becomes a very subtle study of Vedanta, and it is a tricky study, it requires quite subtle, sharp intellect, but it is simply presented to make you understand the difference between Vishayakara vritti and Brahmakara vritti. Vishayakara vritti, in order to know a mango as a mango, your Vishayakara vritti should be healthy, normal, and then you will understand this is a mango. First, let me give you a simple way to understand. Suppose there is some precious object in your box, and in the night you suddenly have a need to get that object. So how do? You take a torchlight. Torchlight is your vritti. And it enables you to open the box. Next point, you flash the light on the object, opening the box and flashing the torchlight. Both are important to know what the object you want. Your vritti, mind goes after a mango. That means you are opening the box. Your soul flashes the light. Soul is Chidakar. Soul is reflected, Chidabhas. Reflected sun, reflected light. In Brahmakara vritti, the simile is different. You open the box, you need light only to open the box. Whatever light you need. But the moment you open the box, light of lights shines up. So, and that's the description of intuitive knowledge, Brahmakara vritti. In Vishayakara vritti, you are removing a layer of illusion to know the object. But whatever you are removing is not complete illusion, just a layer of illusion. Whatever you are experiencing is filled with many layers. In Brahmakara Vritti, you are removing the veil of ignorance. And then Brahman alone exists. And Brahman shines forth by his own light. In Vishayakara Vritti, you are led by karma. After having experienced one object, led by karma, you go after another. And Vishayas, objects are countless. In Brahmakara Vritti, the moment you remove the veil of illusion, all your desires fulfilled. All that you want to know reveals itself. When mind finds itself without any purpose, it goes flat. It dissolves. Even when you sleep, your mind goes flat. Not completely, but it goes. Now with enlightenment, it goes completely out, effaced. But when we say it is effaced, in the state of Jivan Mukti, though the mind has become an illusion, all the activities of sages continue to happen without creating karma. Mind is nothing but pure consciousness. That's what happens. You've been looking through a cloud. Towards the sun. The sun is not revealing completely. So all that you are seeing is some distortion in the sun. But when spiritual movement has started, mind that is like a cloud has allowed a little channel for the sun to pass through. Your vichar, inquiry, your bhakti, devotion, and all these are little channels in your mind. Once mind has allowed, now the same mind plays another role. Same cloud becomes fascinating cloud. You look at it. It looks golden, silvery, gracious. And when you see your mind moving in that direction, you become completely involved in promoting it. You flow into it, like a river flowing into the ocean. And the idea that the mind will dissolve completely, if you do that, that doesn't bother a person. Rather, it is most fascinating. Mind is nothing but pure consciousness in a conditioned state. When a yogi attains discrimination between the self and the not self, he is able to separate the illusory material principle from the mind. It's a simple way of saying you begin to understand the difference between self and not self. the difference between the light and shadows. Between the rope and the illusory snake. The limited mind further operates through the fluctuations of vital forces. But due to ignorance, one is unable to see his essential self as totally different from the mind, senses, pranas, and body. What he is referring to, the self is mixed up with many layers of illusion. But all the layers have emanated from your conditioned mind. What are those layers? Firstly, your physical body. Physical body is not a reality, it is a mental projection. Simple way to understand, your awareness, your physical body is a matter of some brain centers. Touch those centers, you will not be aware of your hand, you are aware of your body. And if the brain itself moved away, where is your body? So you are aware of your body not through the brain but through the mind. Mind is operating through your brain and nervous system. But then in the practical world you see yourself being identified with body, next to be identified pranas. And pranas play a tremendous part in spiritual movement. And therefore in Kundalini Yoga you begin to understand the role of pranas. Each center, say for example, prana known as samana brings about assimilation and assimilating the nutrition. But not only on one side assimilation, it brings about a promotion of harmony in your psychological plane. So there are two components, physical and mental. So prana is building up physical aspect, but at the same time creating a mental change. And mind in turn is influencing the prana. And prana in turn is working upon your body. All these are so intricately woven together that in spiritual movement, different systems highlight different layers. For example, in Hatha Yoga, what is highlighted is how to harmonize the pranas, ha and tha. Ha is prana, tha is apana. Out of 5 pranas, 2 are the highlighted pranas. When you breathe in, it is a function of prana. When you breathe out, it is a function of apana. These 2 functions go on behind your psychology. So controlling the prana has many subtler levels. So, all these layers, body, prana, mind and senses, intellect and ego, all these are in the realm of illusion, maya. The self is totally different from all these. When ignorance is destroyed, the intuitive mind negates these illusory layers of the not self. Otherwise, stay naughty. And the self is revealed by its own light. And with this, I'm going to conclude. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukuma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat.